Chapter 71. You are listening at novelfull.audio. But, Wuqi glanced up, a faint smile playing on his lips as he watched the beautiful woman walking toward him. He was still waiting for someone. Chapter 1. The beauty of the world, the once thriving territory was now a wasteland, desolate and empty. Wuqi had Jia Yingchen and Qin Keqing gathering the fallen soldiers' remains so they could be resurrected in the Hall of Heroes. The sounds of hammering rang out as buildings were being repaired everywhere. Fortunately, Wuqi had plenty of void crystals and source stones, so he wasn't worried about running out of funds for repairs. He stood near the ruins, watching the figure approaching. Her gorgeous purple-blue dress was stained with splashes of blood. Her long hair, now white, hung loose around her shoulders. Her once delicate face looked aged and worn, but her eyes still shone with a bright spark. Her thin frame looked frail, like a gust of wind could blow her over. She looked miserable, utterly miserable, but she held her sword in one hand and the boss's kill chest in the other, approaching Wuqi in silence. Dayu. Wuqi's gaze softened as he looked at her. He didn't know what to say. Lin Dayu tilted her head, trying to hide her withered face from Wuqi, and wordlessly handed him the kill treasure box. Wuqi took it, hesitated, and then said, "It's all over now. Whether it's a battle or a newbie trial, you can just." She stopped him, turning to face him with a cold expression. Wuqi swallowed, looking at her aged face. He reached out, wanting to touch her. He extended his hand, his fingers slowly brushing against her weathered skin. A sharp pain shot through Wuqi's heart. It hurt, but Lin Dayu smiled, her eyes shining. Her voice, still gentle as water, held a hint of teasing. "Does it hurt you?" "Yes." Wuqi nodded without hesitation. Lin Dayu pursed her lips, smiling. She took Wuqi's hand, moved it away, and said calmly, "Don't worry so much. You know my bloodline. I can recover from this unnatural lifespan loss, and pretty quickly too." Crimson pearl immortal grass. Wuqi was surprised, then he understood, reborn through blood. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and after obtaining Lin Dayu's portrait of destiny, her attributes had become even more formidable, strengthening her natural bloodline. Lin Dayu hadn't faced a crisis like this before, so the full power of her bloodline hadn't been revealed. This was a good opportunity to finally see what she was capable of. "Master." Lin Dayu tilted her head and suddenly said, "I'm hungry. I want to eat something you've cooked." "Okay." Wuqi nodded without hesitation and led her to the Union guest house. Then he started cooking. Soon, he served a dish of roasted pork ribs with potatoes, a bowl of rice, and a bowl of kelp pork rib soup. "Enjoy." Wuqi clapped his hands, looking proud. Lin Dayu pursed her lips and smiled, taking small bites, but she ate quickly. In no time, she had devoured all the food and soup. A miracle began to unfold before their eyes. Her vitality and lifespan visibly returned, and her face regained its delicate beauty. Her composure gradually returned. Soon, her body had fully recovered, but her white hair remained unchanged. "Why didn't your hair change back?" Wuqi sat across from her, looking surprised. Lin Dayu grabbed a strand of her white hair, thought for a moment, and said, "It seems the over-extraction of qi in my body earlier has affected my hair." She took a short breath, and the innate qi in her body began to condense. Soon, her hair changed from silver to a thick black. "It's back." Wuqi smiled. Lin Dayu summoned a little more innate qi. The next moment, her hair instantly turned silver white again. Wuqi was stunned by the sudden change. Lin Dayu smiled playfully and said, "Master, do you think I look better with white hair or black hair?" "As long as it doesn't hurt your body, you'll look good either way." Wuqi thought for a moment, nodding. "Dayu is the most beautiful no matter what. You're such a smooth talker." Lin Dayu smiled softly and tilted her head, her beautiful eyes misting over. "Okay, master, go back and rest. I'm tired." She stood up, paused, and then left with a smile. Wuqi had no choice but to let Jia Yingchen and Qin Keqing return to their rooms to rest. Then he returned to the palace. The battle had shaken Qin Keqing and Jia Yingchen, but luckily, they both had high spiritual attributes, so they wouldn't suffer any long-term effects. Jia Yingchen, however, was a little scared and wouldn't rest unless she was in the same room as Qin Keqing. As for the palace, now that it was level 10, it had 200 rooms. Before, the boss, Sixth Blade, had divided the territory in two. The palace had also suffered, with at least half the rooms destroyed, but now, there were only a few survivors in the territory, so there was no need to worry about a shortage of rooms. Wu Qi washed his face, chose a room, and collapsed onto the bed, finally able to relax. It seemed he could finally sleep peacefully. In a daze, someone seemed to be calling Wu Qi. Young master. Young master, that the soft, enchanting voice was music to his ears. Wu Qi couldn't help but open his eyes. An oil lamp flickered in the room, casting a dim light on the surroundings. Wu Qi turned his head. A figure stood by the door. Wu Qi stared, startled. It was a beautiful woman, wearing a phoenix crown and a bridal robe, with a touch of crimson makeup on her delicate face. Her beautiful eyes seemed to speak volumes, whispering secrets to his heart. She pursed her lips. Chapter 72. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Under the soft light, her bright red lips looked like the most exquisite jade, making you want to taste them. She wore a stunning red wedding dress, adorned with delicate plum blossoms, absolutely beautiful and captivating. She walked towards Wu Qi, to the edge of the broken space. She slipped off her shoes and socks, revealing cute, small white feet, gently stepping onto the quilt. One step, another step, she walked towards Wu Qi. Partway there, her phoenix crown tumbled off, revealing a face that could be playful or serious, but was always as soft as water. Reaching Wu Qi, her shawl slipped. She leaned down, a vision of fair skin and perfect curves, and looked at Wu Qi. The lights were low, the world was beautiful. The night passed. Wu Qi woke up, a little dazed. He looked at the beautiful woman in his arms, unsure what to say. Lin Daiyu was still asleep, a smile playing on her face. There was an innocence there, mixed with a hint of newfound womanly charm, more beautiful than ever. Or maybe that was just wishful thinking on Wu Qi's part. Fair. Wu Qi remembered what Lin Daiyu had said before and couldn't help but smile. So nice. Chapter 12, Expanding the Territory. February 5th, please subscribe. Beautiful things or experiences always stick with you. Wu Qi savored this peaceful moment. It must have been 6 or 7 in the morning, but it was still dark out. The room, lit by dim light, was full of old-fashioned charm. Speaking of which, the gift Lin Daiyu wanted to give him was herself. Gotta say, amazing. Wu Qi chuckled, replaying the night in his head, and hummed happily to himself. Heh. He laughed like an idiot. The laughter must have been a little loud because Lin Daiyu stirred and woke up, still sleepy, with a couple of tears on her cheek. Honey. She woke up, face flushed, and sat up quickly. Her hair tumbled down, revealing the curve of her neck and the soft slope of her shoulder. Don't you want to sleep a bit longer? Wu Qi smiled, admiring her beauty and feeling completely satisfied. It's your fault, silly. I just don't feel like getting up today. There's no fighting to do anyway. Lin Daiyu, in a rare display of playfulness, wrapped her arms around Wu Qi's neck and rested her head on his shoulder, completely at ease. Okay. My sweet Daiyu, if you want to stay here all day, I'm all in. Wu Qi hugged her waist affectionately, his eyes full of love. She pursed her lips, gave him a playful look, then suddenly giggled, showing her youthful side. Seeing her so happy made him happy, too. Wu Qi was a little confused and asked, "What's wrong?" "Master." Lin Daiyu blinked her big eyes. Wu Qi, yeah. "Master," she said again. Wu Qi couldn't help but blush and said helplessly, "Why are you calling me that all of a sudden? I'm right here." "Does my lord not like this servant?" Sister Lin suddenly looked sad and whispered, "That's right, my lord has already had their way with this servant. It's okay to be tired of it." Wu Qi was shocked and hurried to explain, but he saw the corners of Sister Lin's mouth twitching. This girl was teasing him. "Stop messing around." Wu Qi rolled his eyes and said, "Are you hungry? I'll get you some breakfast." "Not hungry." Sister Lin shook her head, then stretched out a finger and tapped Wu Qi's face. She seemed to find it amusing, pinching his nose and then his cheek. This playful, lively side of her was so different from the gentle, intellectual Sister Lin he was used to, but when you thought about it, at her age, she should be more lively. If she was always sad and tearful like she was before, something would be off. Thinking about it this way, Wu Qi felt tenderness well up inside him and let her play. Just then, The door swung open, Qin Keqing walked in with a plate and said, "Master, are you awake? I brought some buns." She entered the room and trailed off, staring in stunned silence at the scene before her. Since she had been bringing Wuqi breakfast every morning for the past few days, he'd given her permission to come right in. She hadn't expected this. "Oh, sorry," Qin Keqing stammered, her face bright red, her eyes filled with shame and a hint of bitterness. "Sir, where should I put the breakfast?" that she asked softly, a trace of resentment in her voice. Wuqi's heart skipped a beat, and he felt a wave of guilt wash over him. "Just give it to me," he said. "Okay." Qin Keqing walked over, dressed in white, her graceful figure even more alluring in the dim light. She handed the tray to Wuqi, then quietly turned to leave. Bang! The door closed behind her. Wuqi breathed a sigh of relief. Sister Lin couldn't help but smile and said softly, "What's the matter, young master? What are you afraid of?" "Nothing." "Why would I be afraid?" Wuqi quickly denied. The beautiful woman drawled, her eyes fixed on Wuqi. That he swallowed hard, grabbed a bun, and said, "Let's eat breakfast." "Okay, but I'm all tuckered out." Lin Daiyu snuggled against him, looking completely dependent. "You're all tuckered out, with the physique of a seasoned warrior." Wuqi's face twitched, but he wasn't completely hopeless, so he rolled his eyes, tore open a bun, and fed her a little bit. It was a pretty pointless act, but Sister Lin loved it, and looked as happy as could be. Chapter 73. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Soon, they polished off the buns. Lin Daiyu took the tray and set it down with a clatter, a hint of mischief in her pretty face. "So, how long can you stay around, sir?" "Until midnight tonight." Wuqi replied. Sister Lin smiled. "Then, will you stay with me until then?" Wuqi was taken aback. Then he saw her sit up, her skin like white jade, now bare. The answer was obvious, back in the territory. Time marched on, and the buildings were being repaired one by one. The ground was gradually healing, the wall was becoming whole again, and the defense towers were being rebuilt. Inside the Hall of Valor, gorgeous women emerged, some bold, some sweet. They'd lived through the battle last night and were still shaken, but luckily, they could resurrect, so their fear was fading. Noon, after lunch, Qin Keqing came out of Wuqi's room, holding the territorial expansion order. Seeing her troubled expression, Jia Yingchun asked, "Sister Keqing, what's up?" "Nothing, just a task from the young master." Qin Keqing changed the subject, holding up the token. Territorial expansion order, temporary, category, item, quality, n/a. Level, 10. Function, increases territory size by 10,000 to 50,000 square meters. Description, a special reward for those with unyielding will. A powerful lord needs a strong will. This was the settlement reward from yesterday, likely the special prize Wuqi got for that split-second breakthrough. And its effect was huge. It could expand the territory. Even at its worst, 10,000 square meters would double the size of Wuqi's land. "Yingchun, come here." Qin Keqing smiled and handed over the token. Jia Yingchun took it, gave it a good look, and used it right away. Instantly, the token burst into light, spreading outwards. Boom! Boom! The territory shook for a moment, then settled. The surrounding fog and darkness retreated significantly. Qin Keqing went to higher ground and surveyed the change, quickly understanding what happened. Based on the young master's calculations, it should be 50,000 square meters now. "Second sister, you're the master's good luck charm. You got the best result immediately." Qin Keqing exclaimed. Jia Yingchun blushed, pursing her lips, feeling helpless. Chapter 1, The Hall of Legends. Endless rewards. 3/5. Please subscribe. I choose. Return. Inside the territory, Wuqi's voice echoed. The next moment, the vast territory began to fade into the endless void. Finally, it turned into an independent space and was absorbed into Wuqi's body. And Wuqi himself was rising with immense power. He broke through the mists, climbing higher and higher. He looked around, seeing stars, shattered skies, and vibrant worlds. In a daze, a mysterious voice, neither male nor female, echoed in his mind. You survived 30 days. Your actions, the enemies you defeated, and your development will be assessed. Calculating. You have the Golden Legendary Territory trait, Golden Legendary Heroes, and excellent purple troops. You have defeated hundreds of thousands of enemies and killed 20 bosses. You receive 20 pieces of golden equipment. You are beloved by the residents of your territory. Currently, 203 residents admire you. Overall score, Golden Legend. Legend score, 113, A booming voice echoed in Wu Qi's ears. Then, he crossed countless stars and arrived in a mysterious gray hall. Your legend score of 113 places you between 100 to 200, entering the 11th floor of the Hall of Legends. You have gained 113 legend points, choose your rewards. This is it. Wu Qi's heart raced, recalling the information he'd read. If you endure the Lord's newcomer trial for 30 days, you receive the Void Commendation. Ordinary Void Commendations grant rare resources, like a rare building, or rare talents, rare bloodlines. But, if you not only survive 30 days, but also excel, you gain legendary status. And can enter the Hall of Legends to choose what you need. In the Hall of Legends, everything is extremely rare. The higher your legend score, the higher the floor you enter, and the better the rewards. The rumors say, the legendary palace's many floors above hold superdivine objects that can enhance the territory's traits. I only read about this in books. Silver Moon City has no legendary figures. Wu Qi confirmed it, he must be the first to achieve legendary status in Silver Moon City history. Moreover, 113 points and the 11th floor of the Hall of Legends wasn't bad. What will I get? Wu Qi was excited. He looked around. The mysterious gray palace, the one from the books, had strange murals and patterns covering its walls. He walked over and studied them, finding a mural of ancient humans using sticks to make fire, with words carved below. The words were unfamiliar, but when Wu Qi looked, he immediately understood their meaning. In the beginning, who taught us? Could it be the Xuanhuan clan from mythology? Wu Qi touched his chin and studied the other murals. He made a circle, finding he didn't recognize most of them, only the in the beginning, who taught us. Mural was familiar. He walked into the main hall and saw a swirling cloud of gray mist. Chapter 74. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Above the gray fog lay a boundless, folded space. It was divided into countless slices, each containing the same tantalizing offers. 100 free attribute points, 10 legendaries, talent upgrade pill, golden legend 10 legendaries, random hero, golden legend 10 legendaries, random troop camp, golden legend 10 legendaries, random territory trait change, golden legend 10 legendaries, randomly evolving equipment, golden legend 10 legendaries, random natal magic weapon, golden legend 10 legendaries, random innate secret treasure. 100 legendaries, random small plane, 100 legendaries, evil god core, 100 legendaries, random artifact, 100 legendaries, 10 free attribute points, 1 legendary, unit quality upgrade talisman, golden legend 1 legendary, and tons more. Wu Qi scrolled through, his eyes widening as he scanned hundreds of items. The exchange prices ranged from 1 to 100 legendary points. Heroes, units, buildings, equipment, special items, artifacts, even world wonders, you name it, they had it. It was overwhelming. He kept looking, lost track of time, and finally understood the scope of this treasure trove. I want it all, Wu Qi gulped. Suddenly, 113 legendary points didn't seem like much at all. But considering what those points could buy, they were a fortune. For instance, 10 legendary points could snag a legendary hero. Or a legendary troop type with its own exclusive barracks. With 113 points, I could get 11 golden heroes. That's like winning the lottery. Wu Qi clicked his tongue, but after careful consideration, he decided against it. He wasn't exactly hurting for golden heroes. Thanks to his golden finger ability, his red mansion already had a 100% golden hero rate. Plus, what if he randomly got a dude? He wanted to control who he recruited. And honestly, the other offers were way more appealing. He'd be selling himself short by choosing heroes. Mythical beast bloodlines, ancient Taoist scriptures, immortal elixirs. Wu Qi's eyes burned. He painfully shut them, forcing himself to make a decision, rarity-wise. Snagging a 100-point item, a 10-point item, and 3 1-point items seemed like the best strategy. But there were just so many amazing choices, he felt paralyzed. Each item promised a game-changing upgrade. Calm down. Deep breaths. Think back to everything you learned in class. For a lord, anything that boosts your territory is the way to go. That Wu Qi inhaled deeply, slowly regaining his composure. He started filtering the items. After what felt like forever, he finally had a plan and made his choices. World Wonder, Red Hydrangea, 100 legendaries, Tyene Cave, 10 legendaries, Unit Quality Upgrade Talisman, X2, 1 legendary, Random Territory Defense Formation Set, 1 legendary. Exchange complete. Wu Qi clapped his hands together, ready to celebrate, when his vision went black. He was instantly pulled out of the Hall of Legends. The next moment, he was hurtling across the endless void, past countless universes, back to his own world. Earth. In the vast starry sky, a shimmering, ethereal galaxy suddenly materialized. A vibrant splash of color, gone in a flash. Instantly, countless eyes turned toward it, from Earth, from across the universe, even from unknown realms beyond comprehension. A legendary lord has emerged. Countless beings understood. As the illusory galaxy unfurled, the fleeting image of a woman could be seen before it vanished. This strange celestial event sent shockwaves across Earth. People were awestruck. The sudden appearance and disappearance of the star system eclipsed the sun and moon, briefly becoming the brightest jewel in the cosmos. Chapter 2, Visions of Heaven and Earth. Unparalleled talent. A strange phenomenon. The galaxy is rewinding. A galaxy is born in the universe, dimming the sun and moon. It appears in the blink of an eye and vanishes just as fast. Legendary. This must be the birth of a legendary lord. Incredible. What kind of extraordinary individual could cause such a spectacle? It's happening on Earth, our ancestral planet. This year, an unparalleled genius has appeared. It's terrifying. I thought I saw a woman in the galaxy, a female genius, maybe. Earth was rocked. In the depths of space, unheard and unseen, countless powerful entities watched. Beings existed even beyond the known universe, silently observing this world, but at least for this day, every person on Earth, every lord, received the same message. A peerless genius is born. Heavenly visions, the stars reverse their course. Living room. Wu Qi's figure flickered into existence. He looked a bit drained, his face pale, and his legs felt shaky, but his eyes shone with pure excitement. The void reward, the items he'd chosen, held the key to his territory's limitless potential. The 3 1-point items would immediately boost his combat strength. The 100-point and 10-point items, on the other hand, promised long-term growth. Short-term versus long-term gains, the choice had been crystal clear. I'm a lord now. Wu Qi smiled inwardly, focusing his mind. He could see his territory within himself, floating serenely. Buildings, people, time ticking by, every lord had their territory integrated into their body. The lord could enter at any time they wanted, but journeying to the endless void required waiting. Descent, cooldown, 29 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes, 42 seconds. Wu Qi glanced at the panel, then surveyed his territory. It had expanded exponentially. He thought back to the territory expansion order he'd given to Qin. Chapter 75. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Maybe you should go back and check it out now. Nah, forget it, just in case you get caught again. Wu Qi remembered yesterday and winced. Man, was he beat. He looked genuinely exhausted. Just you wait, Xianezi. When I level up, I'm coming for you, Wu Qi muttered, then checked the time. Only a little over an hour had passed since he first got here. this time thing is wild, all the lords, every single time they go, no matter how long they last, they always come back at the same time. Because, the endless void has its own messed up time rules. Gotta get to school. I need to sign up for this thing. Wuqi thought for a moment and headed out. Silver Moon City was bustling a bit more than usual. Wuqi rushed towards school, passing plenty of other students. They were all new lords this year, each with their own look. Kamigawa High School. In the junior class, 5, classroom, martial arts teacher Zhu Jian sat silently at the podium. The 20-plus students below were chatting, creating a lively vibe. When Wuqi walked in, nobody even noticed. He wasn't trying to prove anything, so he just went to his seat and sat down casually. Right after he sat down, he heard 2 classmates in front of him, one skinny and one fat, talking. How many days did you last? 11. You? Ha. I made it over 30. Nice. What level are you? I lasted until level 4 in 11 days and then bailed. Couldn't take it anymore. Level 6. Level 6 seems kinda low, doesn't it? I got lucky. I ended up on an island area. The invading monsters were a bunch of sandworms, so they were slow as hell. Plus, I got a crossbow barracks. Sweet. I wasn't so lucky. My 40 militiamen got wiped out by over 100 minotaurs. Inside the classroom. It wasn't just those 2 guys chatting, everyone was comparing notes. Some had gotten lucky and survived for 30 days, snagging a void reward. Like one dude who got a rare military unit camp, others were super unlucky, gambling on summoning a hero right off the bat. One guy got a freaking doctor, and then monsters invaded his territory on day 3. He had to bail in despair. Of course, some people played it safe and steady, starting with the militia and fighting their way up. They usually lasted at least 10 days, then they'd had enough and tapped out. The unluckiest was the guy who failed on day 30, apparently. He made it to level 10 and recruited 100 militiamen, then a boss showed up on day 30, leading 300 trolls, and flattened his territory. Wuqi was listening to their chatter with interest. Suddenly, the 2 guys in front turned around. The skinny one grinned and asked, Wuqi, how about you? What level did you hit? Level 10. Wuqi smiled. He had a plan. Showing a little talent could get you somewhere, but you didn't want to overdo it. After all, this was a new world, and everyone was in the same boat. You passed the newbie trial. They both looked shocked. Wuqi nodded. Fought it out, every step of the way. You got lucky. That day 30 boss must have been a chump, right? The chubby guy said, sounding a little jealous. Wuqi just smiled and didn't bother explaining. So what void reward did you get? The skinny one asked, then realized he'd overstepped and waved awkwardly. Sorry, I shouldn't have asked. No big deal. Wuqi didn't mind but didn't answer him either. Time flew by amid all the noise. Inside the classroom, the class slowly grew to over 30. After a while, Zhu Jian looked up, glanced around, and said calmly, Is everyone here? The next moment, silence fell. Zhu Jian nodded slightly. Those who passed the newbie test, stand up. Wuqi stood up. 5 other people in the room stood up too. 6 in total. Not bad this year. 6 made it. Zhu Jian looked surprised. In previous years, barely 1 in 10 would pass the newbie trial. You will be transferred to the senior class, 20. The rest of you stay put. Zhu Jian nodded, stood up, and motioned for the others to follow him. Wuqi didn't hesitate and took a big step forward. The others did too. Soon, Zhu Jian led them to another building, a large lecture hall. This is where you'll have classes from now on. There's 1 class a day. Check the schedule on the school website. It's up to you whether you go or not. Zhu Jian spoke calmly, then turned and left. Teacher Zhu's a man of few words. One student shook his head. The group entered the lecture hall together and found seats. Eventually, about 200 people gathered in the lecture hall. These were all the Kamigawa High School lords who'd passed the newbie trial this year. P.S. I'm applying for recommendations. Please subscribe tomorrow. Your support is needed. Pill, Chapter 3 The First Class. May 5th. Please subscribe. Wu Qi found a corner, sat down, and looked at the other students, a thought striking him. Kamigawa High School, being the most prestigious high school in Silver Moon City, had top-notch teachers and students. This year, he guessed at least 3,000 people had become new lords. Out of 3,000, only a little over 200 had passed the newbie trial, and many of them came from wealthy families. They hadn't needed state support because they already had better resources from home. Naturally, it was easier for them to pass the newbie trial than for ordinary lords. In the crowd, many people looked proud, others looked bummed, and some looked excited but held back from speaking. Soon after, whoosh! A strong wind blew. Everyone looked up and saw clouds and mist gathering on the podium, forming a door. Chapter 76. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Seeing that signature move, everyone knew exactly who it was. Yep, it was 547, alright, then, like something out of a dream. A woman in red, barefoot, drifted through the clouds, her cold, beautiful face radiating authority. Unbelievably, it was the current principal of Kamigawa High. Everyone was stunned. No one expected the principal to teach a class herself. The woman in red floated in the air, her red dress swirling around her, her long hair flowing in the wind. Starting today, I'll personally be coaching Senior High Class 20, the woman in red said coolly, her voice like ice. From now on, you can just call me teacher. Yes, ma'am, the students answered in unison. The woman in red continued, you've just finished your newbie trials, so you must be buzzing with excitement. Everyone who survives the newcomer trial, even if it's by sheer luck, gets some pretty sweet rewards. Everyone nodded at that. The newbie trials, they're different for everyone. The stronger you are, the tougher the monsters you face, so, naturally, everyone's experience and the resulting rewards vary wildly. If you're lucky enough to just skate by, your rewards won't even compare to those who fought tooth and nail to survive. Let me congratulate you on stepping through the first door in your life. Starting next month, you can freely explore the endless void. The woman in red nodded slightly and said calmly, now, let's begin our first class. As your teacher, I'll teach you the most important thing today. As a lord, the most important knowledge is. Hearing this, everyone sat up straight, watching her intently. Wu Qi also perked up a bit. The woman in red paused for a moment, then asked, what do you think is the most important ability for a lord to have? From the front row. A muscular guy spoke up, grinning, teacher, it's gotta be strength. With enough strength, you can dominate everything. Some people agreed. Yeah, whether it's heroes, units, or buildings, they all show the Lord's strength. Even luck is a type of strength. Most people seem to agree. But, some people shook their heads, thinking that was way too simplistic. Strength is important, but so is brains. As a lord, you're the brain and heart of the territory. You need wisdom to make the territory thrive and grow your power without fear. So, wisdom is even more important than strength. Exactly. Only the smart ones make it to the top. The lecture hall, suddenly filled with chatter, everyone was throwing in their 2 cents. Wu Qi couldn't help but smile, listening to their discussion which was almost turning into a shouting match. He wasn't trying to get ahead, he had more sense than that. Right now, he was admiring the woman known as Fairy Yunmeng. Dressed in red, surrounded by mist, with a stunning face and a figure that couldn't be hidden. Her presence was ethereal, like clouds and mist, but, what really caught Wu Qi's eye was, her perfect feet, not too chubby, not too skinny, not too big, not too small, not freakishly small like those old-timey bound feet, and not oversized either. They looked like they were made in heaven, perfect. Wu Qi wasn't a foot fetishist or anything. He just appreciated beautiful things. No wonder she's called the #1 fairy in Silver Moon City. Wu Qi smacked his lips and muttered, then, the woman in red turned and looked right at him. Wu Qi. You, in the back. What's your opinion? The woman in red wasn't angry, her cold, pretty face remained composed, but she spoke calmly and pointed at Wu Qi. Instantly, the classroom went silent, all eyes turned to him. Wu Qi wasn't stage shy. He stood up, thought for a second, and then said, I think the most important ability for a lord, is staying alive. that the words had barely left his mouth when the classroom exploded with noise. Some people were dismissive, thinking Wu Qi was a coward. Some had a sudden realization and thought he had a point, some shook their heads in disagreement, and some whispered and rolled their eyes. Wu Qi shrugged it off. He wasn't embarrassed by their reactions. The woman in red looked at Wu Qi with surprise, nodded, and motioned for him to sit down. Then, she spoke, her voice filling the classroom. "He's right. That's what I'm teaching you today. How to run away." Instantly, you could hear a pin drop in the classroom. Some people were shocked, some were confused, some looked at Wu Qi in astonishment, their faces a mix of emotions. The woman in red asked again, confused, that everyone looked awkward and stayed quiet. The woman in red didn't press them. She just said, "It's okay to be confused." "What, do you think the endless void is?" That she frowned slightly, a hint of mystery on her beautiful face. The endless void. The place where lords explore, where everything exists and nothing exists, the end of everything, the graveyard of all mysteries. Is it Disneyland? Or a mountain of gold and silver with treasures everywhere? Do you think going into the endless void? The red-dressed beauty scoffed and said in a chilling voice, "Is safe." Her cold voice was piercing, like an icy wind. Everyone couldn't help but shudder. The red-dressed beauty said again, 80% of the lords who die every year on May 2nd die because they were careless. Do you think you're geniuses? Reincarnated immortals or kings? The endless void doesn't care who you are. If you don't learn to run away, there'll probably be only a handful of you left out of the 200+ people here a year from now. Her eyes were cold, her voice carrying a strange power that resonated in everyone's hearts. She's using some kind of power, that Wu Qi thought. This was definitely a good effect. The students, who were all a bit restless, calmed down and seemed to be deep in thought. Of course, there would be some who didn't care, but they wouldn't dare show it now. The red-clothed woman looked around and nodded with satisfaction at the students' expressions. She said calmly, "Now, I will teach you the Xuanhuan visualization diagram." Chapter 4 Xuanhuan visualization. World fragments. 1/5. Please subscribe. Chapter 77. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In this day and age, high school isn't just any school. It's a big deal. You can't just throw one up anywhere. Every high school has serious history and backing. And Xuanhuan High's famous technique is the Xuanhuan visualization map. A woman in red floated in the air, holding a white scroll. On it, the Xuanhuan River cascaded down from the sky, washing over everything. As a lord, you don't need to grind away at textbooks. The woman in red whispered a few words, and the scroll flew into the classroom, passing over everyone's heads. Instantly, their lord's heart felt a warmth, and a message popped up. Alert, artifact phantom contacted. Learn the Xuanhuan visualization map. Wu Qi felt it too, his eyes widening. These days, students don't have to memorize stuff by rote. The Lord's heart digitizes everything, opening up all sorts of possibilities. In other words, learning a technique means hard practice, memorization, and understanding, but now, lords have better options. Learn, Wu Qi thought, checking his stats. 09, Wu Qi, race, human, level, 10. Constitution, 1.3. Spirit, 1.9. Available attribute points, 47. Skills, Xuanhuan visualization method. Xuanhuan visualization method, skill quality, blue, skill level, 1, 0/100, skill effect, visualize Xuanhuan for a moment of self-control. Description, a rare technique for reacting in extreme danger. A secret technique. Wu Qi nodded. Even though it was only blue quality, being a secret technique meant it was valuable. It's not an attack or defense skill, but a mental one that lets you react in deadly situations. Like, if he'd had this when facing the 9 absolute swords Xuanhuan boss on day 30, he could have broken free and fought back. Then again, if he had had it, the boss probably wouldn't have been the 9 absolute swords, anyway. The endless void would have thrown something else at him. Snapping back to reality, Wu Qi looked up. The woman in red scanned the room and said, "You should all have received it. This is the Phantom of Xuanhuan High's artifact, the Xuanhuan Jinjia. It can save your life in a pinch. Using it is simple. Just run. When you're in danger, visualize Xuanhuan. Shut out everything and escape the endless void with your territory. Her voice was cool and steady, carrying to everyone. Every descent into the endless void is a gamble. You might face terrible monsters right away. You could land in a forbidden zone or a wasteland. Or end up face to face with a demon god. She continued calmly, the endless void is where all universes and worlds end, a graveyard. Anything could be waiting for you. If you panic, lose your nerve, you and your territory could be wiped out in a fraction of a second. Monsters, gods, immortals, Buddhas. The woman in red was dedicated to her job. She painted a picture of the endless void's dangers and stressed the importance of the Xuanhuan visualization method. It was a lord's lifeline and the skill to level up ASAP. Her words were a bucket of cold water, washing away the new lord's arrogance and excitement. They just survived the newbie trial and earned rewards. Even though the rewards varied, every new lord felt like the void had blessed them. Some of them must have been thinking they were hot stuff. If there weren't descent restrictions, some would have already started exploring the endless void. This teacher is awesome, that Wu Qi thought. The endless void has risks and rewards, but one thing matters above all else, you have to survive. Who doesn't want to become immortal? Who doesn't want hot babes and everlasting life? But it all starts with staying alive. Soon, the students began visualizing the divine river, guided by the woman in red. She summoned the artifact's phantom, showing the divine river in mid-air for them to imprint on their minds. Wu Qi started out doing the same, but then, for some reason, his imagination went wild. He visualized the woman in red herself stepping on the divine river. Her beautiful bare feet stepping on the brilliant river, like a fairy and a demon at the same time, sacred and seductive. Oh my God, what's going on in my head? That Wu Qi felt embarrassed, but he couldn't help that this visualization was working. Before he knew it, it was done. The woman in red had said that visualizing it normally took an hour. Opening his eyes, Wu Qi glanced around. Everyone else was staring at the Xuanhuan river in the sky, memorizing it. He checked his stats again. The skill was already at level 3. Don't stop now. That Wu Qi hesitated and kept visualizing. Level 3, level 4. Level 4, level 5. The Xuanhuan visualization method was leveling up like crazy. This was Xuanhuan Hai's artifact at work, one of the perks of being a student here. Before long, the Xuanhuan visualization method was at level 10 and couldn't go any higher. Most of the others were waking up, too. Not everyone was level 10. Plenty had survived past day 35470 and were still low level. Wu Qi looked at the red-clothed goddess in his mind, stepping on the Xuanhuan river, and smiled. Whatever else was going on, he'd visualized a total babe. That was a win, but something still felt off. Alright, level 10 students, stay behind. The rest of you can go. The woman in red waved her hand. Many students stood, bowed, and quietly left. About half the class remained. Chapter 78. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You're already at level 10, about to break through. You should know everything about breaking through to the Lord Realm, so I won't bore you. With that, the woman in red kept it short and sweet. Without another word, she raised her hand, and hundreds of glowing white orbs appeared, floating out to each new lord. Take these and get back to it. There'll be classes every day from now on, swing by whenever you feel like it. She barely finished the sentence, and she was gone. Barefoot and vanished into the clouds. Wu Qi snagged the orb floating in front of him. It was a square crystal fragment, about the size of his palm, except that it only looked like crystal. This was no ordinary crystal. World Fragment, Unit 1, Description, fragments condensed from the world's origin. Lords can swallow it to break through level restrictions. Chapter 5, Weird Parents, 2 out of 5. Please subscribe. World Fragments, a small crystal with serious power. A tiny fragment left over from when a world bit the dust, its core collapsing. It's small, only a billionth of the world's original size, but even so, it's still a piece of the world's origin. The government hands out world fragments. Any level 10 newbie lord can apply and get one. Wu Qi and his classmates at Kamigawa High School don't have to jump through hoops. The school applies for a batch every year and hooks everyone up, and the world fragments job. Simple, the lord's heart swallows it to boost the territory's nature. This busts through the level cap, so the territory can keep leveling up and everything else levels up with it. Wu Qi fiddled with the fragment, then tossed it straight into his territory. As soon as the world fragment hit the territory, it got pounced on, the territory greedily calling out to Wu Qi, "Devour." Wu Qi wasn't about to say no. In a flash, the world fragment broke into tiny specks of light, scattered across the territory. At the same time, a surge of information flooded Wu Qi's mind, letting him know his territory had absorbed enough world origin, time to level up. Building a world from scratch, Wu Qi clicked his tongue, looking around. Most of the other lords had already started gobbling down their world fragments. School's basically out for today. Students can either hit up a teacher for advice, head to the simulation battle arena, or just go home. Being a student in this life is awesome. Wu Qi felt a pang in his heart. He remembered his old school days, hauling this, hauling that, then you graduate and realize 80% of that knowledge was useless. These students have it made. They have so much freedom, can choose what they want, and have endless resources at their disposal. He was just about to leave when two guys blocked his path. One was acting all cocky, the other seemed nice enough. They were the same age, but their vibes were totally different. "Hey, excuse me," the nice guy smiled. "Got a minute?" "Shoot." Wu Qi's eyes narrowed as he nodded. Can't be rude to a friendly face. The nice guy pushed up his glasses. "I'm Chu Renjie, and this is my buddy, Su Hao." "Yo." Su Hao just stared straight ahead. Wu Qi ignored him and turned to Chu Renjie. "With a name like Outstanding Hero, you're either a genius or a complete moron." "Name's Wu Qi." "Good to meet you, Wu." Chu Renjie asked, "So, feeling confident about the simulation battle next month?" "I know about it, but as for confidence." Wu Qi nodded, playing it cool. Honestly, his original plan was to just participate in the simulated battles. Even if he bombed, he'd still get a reward. Then he got the golden ticket. He's been leveling up so fast, now he doesn't even care about the rewards from the simulation battles. Every year, the school hosts this mock battle for the newbie lords. 1. To hand out resources, and 2. To scout for talent. If you crush it in the mock battle, some companies might notice you and give you seed money. Chu Renjie grinned. "No BS. I'm hitting you up, cause I want you to join our Renjie club. We'll aim for the top spots in the simulated battle and rake in the rewards." Wu Qi got it, duh. Newbie lords always jump into the simulation battles. First, the school's rewards. Second, the chance to meet other lords. Whether it's learning from each other or forming alliances, it's a golden opportunity. To get a solid ranking, forming an alliance beforehand is the way to go. Normally, it's a no-brainer, but... Sorry, not my thing. Wu Qi shook his head, turning to leave. Chu Renjie frowned and walked toward another student without another word. Tons of students were forming alliances, guys and girls. Wu Qi walked out and ran into 7 or 8 people inviting him to join, all hoping to get a good ranking in the simulation battle. Wu Qi shot them all down. The students were bummed. Back home, Wu Qi was about to dive into his territory when the phone rang. He frowned, wondering who could be calling. He answered. "Xiaoqi. Congrats on becoming a new lord." It was a middle-aged guy on the other end. Wu Qi asked flatly, "What's up?" "Well, now you're a new lord, the law says you have the ability to be independent, so..." The middle-aged guy hesitated. Wu Qi cut him off, his voice cold. "Don't worry, I'm not asking you for money." "That's great." Knew the Wu family would produce a good one. The middle-aged guy sighed in relief and hung up. He hadn't wanted to say a word. Then the phone rang again. "Unbelievable, Kamigawa High School even informed your parents." Wu Qi rubbed his forehead and answered. "Xiaoqi." "Yeah, it's me." Chapter 79. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wu Qi's voice was ice. "Final payment's been deposited. Don't contact us again." The woman on the other end was equally frigid. Then, she hung up. Wu Qi, looking a bit shaken, took a deep breath and set the phone back down, *2 lifetimes, he thought, I can handle this, he'd had decent parents in his previous life, but in this one. They were just straight up deadbeats. When he was 3, his mother took off with some guy, and his father dumped him with his grandpa, and that was that. If the law hadn't forced them, they probably would have never bothered with him. Now that he was a big shot, a lord, they called just to officially cut ties. Only someone like him, a time traveler who had been raised by a loving grandfather, could brush off such parenting. Anyone else would probably be messed up for life. He pushed the thought aside. A sudden darkness filled his heart, and he vanished from the living room, within his territory. Wu Qi materialized on a forest path. 2 Qin warriors passing by saw him and immediately snapped to attention, saluting. Your Majesty. Carry on with your duties. Don't mind me, Wu Qi said with a nod and a smile. Yes, sir. The 2 warriors said, nodding and going on their way. Taking a moment to collect himself, Wu Qi opened his inventory. P.S. Please subscribe. Chapter 6, A Saint's Relic. A Heavenly Paradise. 3/5, subscribe. Inside the inventory were the 3 treasures he had just acquired. These were the best options he found among the countless treasures in the Hall of Legends. He spent 110 legend points on long-term benefits and 3 points on short-term ones, a perfect balance. Of course, he wasn't some all-knowing genius. He couldn't see everything coming. But what he chose would definitely boost his territory. They were the Red Hydrangea, the Een Cave, 2-unit quality upgrade talismans, and the 5 elements disillusionment formation set. Amazing stuff. Wu Qi's eyes gleamed. He already had one world wonder in his possession, the mechanical kidney. That was his golden ticket, his special advantage, far beyond even golden legendary level, and this Red Hydrangea was another powerhouse. Red Hydrangea, type, world wonder, quality, golden legend, function 1, all territory residents attributes plus 100, territory level x10, function 2, territory residents property growth plus 2, territory level x 0.2, function 3, marriage tree, function 4, level 547 not high enough, description, rumored to be a saint's relic, but that's just a rumor. If you want to know for sure, try asking them yourself. As its name suggested, the Red Hydrangea wasn't much to look at. Wu Qi held it, fiddling with it, finding nothing particularly special about it, but its stats were still terrifying. All 3 functions were growth-oriented, the higher the level, the bigger the bonus. The 3rd function was a bit vague, and he couldn't unlock the later ones yet, but what he had was enough. Rumored to be a saint's relic, that Wu Qi's face twisted slightly as he read the description. There were so many big shots and saints out there. If it were true, did he dare ask? Hey boss, is this the Red Hydrangea you dropped? That the image flashed in his mind. He quickly shook his head, clearing it away. After playing with it for a bit, Wu Qi tossed the Red Hydrangea. Prompt, do you want to place the Red Hydrangea in the territory? Yes. A light bloomed, red light enveloped the hydrangea. The next moment, the hydrangea transformed into a tree dozens of meters tall, taking root in front of Wu Qi. The tree was covered in unfamiliar flowers and leaves, with red hydrangeas hanging down. Tree of marriage, type, world wonder, current marriage, Wu Qi / Lin Daiyu, luck value, +1. Marriage skill, epiphany, type, marriage tree skill, attributes. Entering a state of enlightenment grants a high probability of directly improving skill level, with a small chance of additional gains. Interval, 24 hours, restrictions, Wu Qi, Lin Daiyu, description, where destinies are intertwined and marital bonds are forged. So, it's another form of the Red Hydrangea. It even gives you a point of luck and a skill. Wu Qi examined the tree, surprised. This marriage tree could trigger enlightenment for him and Lin Daiyu. Throughout the heavens and realms, enlightenment wasn't unheard of, but in any world, it was still incredibly rare and highly sought after, and the marriage tree could bring lords and residents into a state of enlightenment once a day. That was insane. In this digitized world, the effect of enlightenment was clear. You could directly level up your skills and possibly even learn new ones. For example, he could suddenly grasp the art of swordsmanship and maybe even the meaning of the sword. What kind of sword intent or how powerful it would be wasn't something he needed to worry about right now. That's great. Should I try it now? Wu Qi considered it for a moment, then shook his head. He'd save that upgrade for later. Turning his attention back, he looked at the Yin cave, on the stone wall. Chapter 80. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Lin Daiyu and Qin Keqing stood side by side, watching Wu Qi in the distance. Lin Daiyu's hair was pulled back in a ponytail, secured with a jade hairpin. Her face glowed, she was clearly thriving. Qin Keqing remained graceful and charming as ever. The two beauties stood together, their eyes fixed on Wu Qi. Sister Daiyu, you're so lucky, Qin Keqing murmured, her eyes slightly narrowed, her voice soft but with a hint of longing. Lin Daiyu smiled gently. Sister Keqing, should I put in a good word for you with the young master? No, that won't be necessary. Qin Keqing blushed, unable to say more. It was a brief exchange, but Sister Lin clearly won. Lin Daiyu chuckled, took Qin Keqing's hand, and headed towards Wu Qi. Taiyin Cave, a territorial treasure. Wu Qi stared at the small stone tablet in his hand, a strange expression on his face. Everyone familiar with Xianxia stories knows about Cave Heaven's paradise. Anything called a paradise must be special. Wu Qi had chosen this, Taiyin Cave, specifically to match his territory's characteristics. Taiyin Cave, type, territorial environment, quality, golden legend, function 1, skill level of all female residents in the territory +1, territory level x 0.1, function 2, level of all female residents in the territory +1, territory level x 0.1, function 3, when all residents of the territory are women, the effects of the first two functions are doubled. Function 4, insufficient level, introduction, Taiyin's domain, the purest Yin. Prompt, use, Taiyin Cave Heaven. This action is irreversible. The territory environment will transform into a Cave Heaven blessed land. Do it. Wu Qi nodded. Instantly, the stone tablet in his hand floated upward. It grew larger and larger as it rose. Finally, it became a massive stone monument and crashed to the ground. Bang! The earth trembled, and the four ancient characters Taiyin Cave Heaven appeared on the stone tablet. Mysterious white mist then began to rise across the territory, like an ethereal and mystical fairy spirit. The air feels different, Wu Qi said, taking a deep breath and clicking his tongue. Footsteps approached from behind. Wu Qi turned to see Lin Daiyu and Qin Keqing walking towards him, faint smiles on their faces. Master, we feel a lot stronger. Are we going to fight again? Sister Lin asked, smiling faintly. Wu Qi shook his head. Take it easy for a month. Understood. The two women nodded, looking curiously at the stone tablet, then at the marriage tree. Wu Qi then casually explained his epiphany. P.S. Ahem, you all know what this book is like, so I won't beat around the bush. If you don't like it, no need to complain. Chapter 7 to Qin Rui Shi Xian Qin Rui Shi, 4/5. Please subscribe. Epiphany? Can that really raise our skill level directly? Could we learn about artistic concepts? Lin Daiyu's expression turned serious. Even though she'd unleashed her full power that day and instantly killed the swordsman, she remembered how terrifying he was when he arrived. Everything became nothing under the swordsman's will. Time itself seemed to stop. 9 swords, 9 blows. Just by reaching the 6th level, he wiped out the soldiers and nearly destroyed the territory. If Wu Qi hadn't broken free from the sword suppression during the 7th strike, giving her that split-second opportunity, she would have died. I want to understand the artistic conception too. Sister Lin said, her eyes blazing with determination. It wasn't just that she craved power, she couldn't bear being unable to protect Wu Qi. That if she couldn't, she'd feel like she had no purpose. Master, let's go try it. Eager to begin, she headed for the marriage tree. Alright, go ahead. Wu Qi nodded, turning to Qin Keqing. She was gazing at him faintly, and for some reason, Wu Qi felt a twinge of guilt. But Qin. Wu Qi smiled awkwardly. Qin Keqing pursed her lips, a slightly gloomy look on her beautiful face. Master. She whispered, drawing out the word. Sister Daiyu's phoenix crown and harem still belong to me. Wu Qi's face froze. Wait, was that still on the table? After a moment's thought, he gathered his courage. Get ready for tonight. Eh? Qin Keqing gasped, her face reddening with shame. She shot Wu Qi a look that was a mix of anger and amusement, then turned and hurried away. No one escapes. Wu Qi said with a smug grin. Leveling up had improved more than just his stats, of course, there was no need to rush. Wu Qi walked to the Qin Zeruishi barracks. Two great Qin warriors stood guard at the entrance. When they saw Wu Qi, they immediately bowed. Your Majesty, that as luck would have it, Zhao Xianyue was among them. Wu Qi nodded. Xianyue, come inside with me. Yes. Zhao Xianyue said sternly, following Wu Qi without hesitation. Once inside, Wu Qi took out a soldier quality upgrade talisman, and considered it. Prompt, use the soldier quality upgrade talisman on the Daqin Rui soldiers. This item can upgrade them to the highest level of Golden Legend. Use it. The prop in Wu Qi's hand, which resembled a soldier's talisman, turned into light upon confirmation, dissipating and being absorbed by the entire barracks. And then,